Imagine this. You're having a long, exhausting day at work. The kind of day where nothing seems to go right and every interaction feels like a battle. Now, picture yourself standing in line at a store, waiting to pay for your items, when suddenly, the person in front of you starts berating the cashier over something trivial. The cashier, clearly doing their best to stay professional, is visibly shaken, but the customer doesn't care. They're loud, aggressive, and downright disrespectful. You feel that familiar mix of anger and helplessness bubbling up inside you. But what if I told you that this story doesn't end the way you'd expect? What if, in a twist so satisfying it'll leave you speechless, the rude customer gets a reality check they'll never forget? Stick around, because this is one of those stories that will make you believe in karma, justice, and the power of standing up for yourself. By the end of this video, you'll get the answer to the question that brought you here. What happens when a rude customer disrespects a cashier only to realize she owns the store? Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Now let's talk about you for a second. Why are you here? Maybe you've been in a similar situation, either as the cashier, the bystander, or even the customer. Maybe you felt that frustration of being treated unfairly or witnessed someone else being mistreated. Or maybe you're just here because you love a good story where the underdog comes out on top. Whatever the reason, I'm glad you're here, because this story is for you. It's for anyone who's ever felt powerless in the face of rudeness. For anyone who's ever wished they could turn the tables on someone who thought they were untouchable. This story is about more than just a rude customer and a cashier. It's about respect, dignity, and the quiet strength it takes to stand up for yourself when the world tries to knock you down. And I promise, by the time we're done, you'll feel a sense of satisfaction that's hard to come by in everyday life. Let's set the scene. It's a busy afternoon at a small, locally owned store. The kind of place where the shelves are stocked with unique items you won't find anywhere else, and the atmosphere feels warm and welcoming, or at least it usually does. Behind the counter is Emily, a young woman in her mid-20s who's been working as a cashier here for a few years. She's the kind of person who always has a smile on her face, even when she's dealing with difficult customers. But today, her patience is being tested like never before. Enter Karen. Yes, that's what we'll call her, a middle-aged woman with a sharp tongue and an even sharper sense of entitlement. Karen's having a bad day, and she's decided to take it out on Emily. What starts as a simple misunderstanding quickly escalates into a full-blown confrontation, with Karen hurling insults and demands at Emily like she's the star of her own reality TV show. The other customers in the store are watching, some whispering to each other, others too uncomfortable to even make eye contact. But no one steps in to help Emily. No one, that is, until the store owner arrives. Here's where things get interesting. The store owner isn't just any ordinary boss. She's someone who's worked her way up from the bottom, someone who knows what it's like to be in Emily's shoes. And she's not about to let Karen get away with her behavior. But before we get to the moment of truth, the moment when Karen realizes just how badly she's messed up, let's take a step back and really get to know these characters. Because this isn't just a story about a rude customer and a cashier. It's a story about power dynamics, about the way we treat people who we think are beneath us, and about what happens when those dynamics are flipped on their head. It's a story that will make you think twice about how you treat others, especially those in service roles. And it's a story that will leave you with a sense of justice that's hard to come by in real life. So, who is Emily? She's not just a cashier. She's a hard-working, kind-hearted person who's been through her fair share of struggles. She's the kind of person who always puts others before herself, who goes out of her way to make sure everyone around her is taken care of. But today, she's reached her limit. Karen's words cut deep, and for the first time in a long time, Emily feels like she's about to break. But then, something unexpected happens. The store owner walks in, and everything changes. The owner, a woman in her 40s with a no-nonsense attitude and a sharp eye for detail, takes one look at the situation and knows exactly what's going on. She's seen it all before: customers who think they can treat her employees like dirt, who think they can get away with anything because they're holding a credit card. But this time, it's different. This time, the owner has a secret one that Karen is about to discover in the most humiliating way possible. And then there's Karen. Karen. She's the kind of person who thinks the world revolves around her, who believes that her problems are everyone else's responsibility. She's the kind of person who's never been told no in her life, and it shows. But today, she's about to learn a lesson she'll never forget. Because what Karen doesn't know, what she couldn't possibly have guessed, is that the woman she's been berating, the woman she's been treating like dirt, isn't just a cashier. She's the owner of the store. And when that truth comes out, it's going to hit Karen like a ton of bricks. But we're not there yet. First, we need to see how this confrontation plays out, how the tension builds to that moment of revelation. And trust me, when it happens, it's going to be every bit as satisfying as you're hoping it will be. So, what's going to happen next? Will Karen get the comeuppance she so richly deserves? Will Emily finally get the respect she's been denied? And what about the other customers in the store? Will they step up and support Emily? Or will they just stand by and watch? These are the questions that will keep you hooked. The questions that will make you stay until the very end of this video. Because this isn't just a story about a rude customer and a cashier. It's a story about justice, about standing up for what's right, and about the power of kindness in a world that often feels anything but kind. It's a story that will make you laugh, make you angry, and maybe even make you cry. But most importantly, it's a story that will leave you feeling like you've just witnessed something truly special. So, are you ready to see how it all unfolds? Are you ready to watch as Karen gets the reality check she so desperately needs? Are you ready to cheer for Emily as she finally stands up for herself and shows the world that she's not someone to be messed with? If the answer is yes, and I know it is, then keep watching. Because this is one story you won't want to miss. And who knows? By the end of it, you might just find yourself inspired to be a little kinder, a little more patient, and a little more willing to stand up for what's right. After all, isn't that what the best stories do? They remind us of the power we all have to make a difference, even in the smallest of ways. So, let's dive in and see how this all plays out. Trust me, you're in for a treat. But remember, the best part is yet to come as we dive deeper into this story. It's important to understand the events that led up to this explosive confrontation. Emily, the cashier at the center of this trauma, hasn't had an easy life. Growing up in a small town where opportunities were scarce, she learned early on that if she wanted something, she'd have to work twice as hard as everyone else to get it. Her parents, both blue-collar workers, instilled in her a strong work ethic and a deep sense of responsibility. But life hasn't been kind to Emily. A few years ago, she lost her mother to a sudden illness, and her father, struggling with grief, turned to alcohol to cope. Emily, barely out of her teens, found herself shouldering the burden of keeping her family afloat. She took on multiple jobs, working long hours to pay the bills and keep the lights on. The store where she works now isn't just a job to her, it's a lifeline. It's the one place where she feels a sense of stability, where she can escape the chaos of her personal life, even if just for a few hours. But today, that stability is being threatened by Karen, a woman who seems determined to make Emily's day as difficult as possible. Karen, on the other hand, is a mystery in her own right. She's not a regular at the store, and no one seems to know much about her. What we do know is that she's been having a rough week. Her social media, yes, she's one of those people who overshares online, is filled with cryptic posts about people not appreciating her and being taken for granted. It's clear that Karen is going through something, but instead of dealing with her problems in a healthy way, she's chosen to take her frustrations out on anyone who crosses her path. And today, that person happens to be Emily. But here's the thing. Karen's behavior isn't just about having a bad day. There's something else going on here, something deeper. Could it be that Karen is hiding something? Is there a reason she's so quick to lash out at Emily? Or is she just one of those people who thrives on conflict? As we peel back the layers of this story, it's becoming clear that Karen isn't just a rude customer. She's a puzzle, and solving that puzzle might just hold the key to understanding why this confrontation is happening in the first place. And then there's the store owner, a woman named Linda. Linda is the kind of person who commands respect without even trying. She's been in the retail business for over 2 decades, and in that time, she's seen it all, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. But what sets Linda apart from other business owners is her unwavering commitment to her employees. She's not just their boss, she's their mentor, their advocate, and sometimes their protector. Linda has a reputation for being fair but firm, and she's not afraid to stand up to anyone who tries to mistreat her staff. But there's more to Linda than meets the eye. Recently, she's been dealing with some personal issues of her own. Her husband, a successful entrepreneur, has been pressuring her to sell the store and retire early. He thinks she's worked hard enough and deserves to enjoy the fruits of her labor. But Linda isn't ready to let go. The store isn't just a business to her, it's her life's work, her passion. And she's not about to let anyone, not even her husband, take that away from her. So, when she walks into the store and sees Karen berating Emily, it's not just about defending her employee. It's about defending everything she's worked so hard to build. As the tension in the store continues to rise, other characters begin to emerge from the background. There's Mike, the store's security guard, who's been quietly observing the situation from a distance. Mike is a former cop who retired early after an on-duty injury left him with a permanent limp. He's seen his fair share of conflicts, and he knows how to handle them. But there's something about Karen that's making him uneasy. Is it just her aggressive demeanor, or is there something more sinister at play? And then there's Sarah, a regular customer who's been shopping at the store for years. Sarah is a single mom who's always been kind to Emily, often stopping to chat with her and ask how she's doing. But today, Sarah seems distracted, almost nervous. Could she be hiding something, or is she just worried about the escalating situation? As more and more people become involved in this unfolding drama, it's becoming clear that this isn't just a simple case of a rude customer and a cashier. There are secrets here, secrets that could change everything. But let's not forget about Emily. As the confrontation with Karen continues, Emily's mind is racing. She's trying to stay calm, to do her job, but the weight of everything she's been through is starting to crush her. She thinks about her father, sitting at home alone, drowning in his grief. She thinks about her mother, who always told her to be strong, no matter what. And she thinks about Linda, the woman who gave her a chance when no one else would. Emily knows she can't let Linda down, but she also knows she can't keep going like this. Something has to give. And then, just when it seems like things can't get any worse, Karen drops a bombshell. She accuses Emily of stealing from the store, of being a thief who doesn't deserve to work there. The accusation is baseless, of course, but it's enough to make Emily's blood boil. For the first time in her life, Emily feels the urge to fight back, to stand up for herself and show Karen that she's not someone to be messed with. But before she can say anything, Linda steps in and the dynamic of the situation shifts dramatically. What happens next is anyone's guess. Will Linda reveal her true identity and put Karen in her place? Will Emily finally find the courage to stand up for herself? And what about the other characters in the store? Will they step up and support Emily, or will they remain silent? As the tension continues to build, one thing is clear. This story is far from over. There are secrets here, secrets that could change everything. And as we get closer to the truth, the stakes are only getting higher. So, stay tuned, because the best is yet to come. And trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Just as the confrontation between Karen, Emily, and Linda reaches its boiling point, a new layer of complexity is introduced, one that throws everything we thought we knew into question. While the drama in the store unfolds, Emily's phone buzzes relentlessly in her pocket, but she ignores it, too focused on the chaos in front of her. It's only later, during a brief moment of respite, that she finally checks her messages, and what she finds sends a chill down her spine. Her best friend Jess has sent her a series of frantic texts, each one more alarming than the last. Jess, who works at a nearby cafe, has just had a run-in with a customer who bears an uncanny resemblance to Karen. The customer was rude, aggressive, and made bizarre accusations, eerily similar to the ones Karen hurled at Emily. But here's the twist. This customer mentioned Emily by name, accusing her of being involved in some kind of scheme and warning Jess to stay away from her. Jess, confused and frightened, reached out to Emily for answers, but Emily is just as clueless as she is. What could this mean? Is Karen part of something bigger, or is this just a strange coincidence? And why is Emily's name being dragged into it? The mystery deepens, and the stakes feel higher than ever. Meanwhile, back at the store, Linda is doing her best to de-escalate the situation. But Karen is relentless. She's not just angry, she's calculated, as if she's trying to provoke a specific reaction. Linda, with her years of experience, senses that there's more to Karen's behavior than meets the eye. She discreetly signals Mike, the security guard, to keep a close watch on Karen while she tries to piece together what's really going on. But before Linda can get any answers, Karen drops another bombshell. She claims to have proof that Emily has been stealing from the store, and she threatens to take her allegations to the police if Linda doesn't fire Emily on the spot. The accusation is outrageous, but it's delivered with such conviction that even Linda begins to wonder if there's any truth to it. Could Emily, the kind-hearted, hard-working cashier, really be involved in something shady? Or is Karen simply trying to manipulate the situation to her advantage? The tension in the room is palpable, and the other customers are starting to take sides, some whispering in support of Emily, others eyeing her with suspicion. The once friendly atmosphere of the store has turned toxic, and it's clear that this confrontation is far from over. As if things weren't complicated enough, a new piece of evidence emerges that throws everything into chaos. One of the store's regulars, an elderly man named Mr. Thompson, approaches Linda with a troubling discovery. He's found a crumpled piece of paper near the checkout counter, and on it is a handwritten note that reads, "Watch your back. She's not who you think she is." The note is unsigned, but the handwriting is neat and deliberate, suggesting that whoever wrote it wanted to be taken seriously. Linda's mind races as she tries to make sense of it. Who is the note referring to? Emily? Karen? Or someone else entirely? And who left it there? The possibilities are endless, and each one is more unsettling than the last. Linda knows she needs to act quickly, but with tensions running high and the store full of customers, she's in a difficult position. She can't risk causing a panic, but she also can't ignore the threat. The note is a game changer, and it raises a host of new questions. Is someone trying to frame Emily? Is Corinne working with an accomplice? Or is there another player in this drama who's been lurking in the shadows all along? As the day wears on, the sense of unease in the store grows. Emily, already on edge from her confrontation with Corinne, is now grappling with the disturbing text from Jess and the implications of the mysterious note. She feels like she's being watched, like every move she makes is being scrutinized. Even the other employees, who have always been supportive, seem to be keeping their distance, as if they're not sure what to believe. Emily's mind is a whirlwind of emotions: fear, anger, confusion, and she's struggling to hold it together. She wants to trust Linda, to believe that her boss will get to the bottom of this, but there's a nagging voice in the back of her head that wonders if even Linda might have her doubts. After all, Linda has her own problems to deal with, and Emily can't shake the feeling that she's being set up. But by whom? And why? The answers to those questions are still out of reach, and the more Emily tries to piece things together, the more tangled the web becomes. And then, just when it seems like things can't get any more complicated, a new player enters the scene. A man in a dark suit walks into the store, his presence immediately drawing attention. He doesn't look like a customer. He's too polished, too deliberate in his movements. He approaches Linda and introduces himself as Detective Harris, flashing a badge that confirms his identity. He's here to investigate a series of thefts that have been reported at local businesses, and he's been told that this store might be connected. Linda is stunned. Theft? At her store? She's always prided herself on running a tight ship, and the idea that her business could be involved in something illegal is almost too much to process. But Detective Harris is insistent, and he asks to speak with Emily, citing her as a person of interest in the case. The room falls silent as all eyes turn to Emily, who looks like she's just been punched in the gut. How did things spiral so out of control so quickly? And what does this mean for her future? The stakes have never been higher, and the sense of impending doom is almost unbearable. As Detective Harris begins his questioning, the tension in the store reaches a fever pitch. Emily, already overwhelmed, struggles to find the words to defend herself. She knows she's innocent, but the weight of the accusations against her is crushing. Karen, meanwhile, watches the scene unfold with a smug expression, as if she's enjoying every moment of Emily's distress. But even Karen's motives are starting to come into question. Is she really just a disgruntled customer, or is she part of something more sinister? And what about Detective Harris? Is he really here to solve a case, or does he have his own agenda? The lines between friend and foe are blurring, and it's becoming impossible to tell who can be trusted. As the investigation continues, new clues emerge, clues that suggest this isn't just about theft, but about something much darker. The mystery is deepening, and the truth feels further away than ever. But one thing is certain: this story is far from over, and the twists and turns are only just beginning. So, stay tuned, because the next chapter is going to change everything. Just when it seems like the pieces of the puzzle are starting to come together, the story takes a sharp, unexpected turn that upends everything we thought we knew. As Detective Harris continues his questioning, Emily's mind races, trying to make sense of the accusations being thrown her way. She's innocent. She knows she is, but the evidence, or what little of it there is, seems to be stacking up against her. Karen's smug demeanor only adds to the tension, and Emily can't shake the feeling that she's being set up. But by whom? And why? The questions swirl in her head, each one more unsettling than the last. And then, just as Detective Harris is about to press Emily further, Linda steps forward, her expression a mix of determination and something else, something Emily can't quite place. Linda's voice cuts through the tension like a knife as she says, "Detective, I think there's something you need to see." What follows next is a revelation so shocking it leaves everyone in the room speechless. Linda leads Detective Harris to the store's office, where she pulls out a folder from a locked drawer. Inside are documents, bank statements, surveillance photos, and a series of handwritten notes that paint a picture far more complex than anyone could have imagined. It turns out that Karen isn't just a disgruntled customer with a chip on her shoulder. She's part of a larger scheme, one that involves not just theft but corporate espionage. The store, it seems, has been targeted by a rival business looking to drive Linda out of the market. Karen was planted as a provocateur, tasked with causing chaos and discrediting the store's employees, particularly Emily, who was seen as a key player in Linda's operation. The accusations of theft, fabricated. The mysterious note, part of the plan. Even Detective Harris's involvement was orchestrated, his badge a fake, his motives anything but pure. The realization hits Emily like a ton of bricks. This wasn't just about her, it was about taking down everything Linda had built. And Corinne, the woman who had seemed so confident, so untouchable, was nothing more than a pawn in a much larger game. But the twists don't stop there. As Linda lays out the evidence, another figure emerges from the shadows, someone Emily never expected to see. It's Jess, her best friend, the one who had sent her those frantic texts earlier. But Jess isn't here to offer support or comfort. Instead, she's holding a USB drive, her face a mask of guilt and regret. "I'm so sorry, Emily," she says, her voice trembling. "I didn't want to do this, but they made me." The USB drive contains files, emails, photos, and recordings that implicate Jess in the scheme. It turns out she was approached weeks ago by the same people who recruited Karen, offered money and promises in exchange for her cooperation. Her role was to keep tabs on Emily, to gather information that could be used against her. The text she sent earlier, a distraction meant to throw Emily off balance and make her doubt herself. The betrayal cuts deep, and Emily feels like the ground has been ripped out from under her. How could Jess, her closest friend, the person she trusted most, do something like this? The answer, it seems, is as simple as it is heartbreaking: desperation. Jess, struggling with mounting debt and a sick parent, saw no way out. But that doesn't make the sting of her betrayal any less painful. As the truth comes to light, the dynamics in the room shift dramatically. Karen, realizing her cover has been blown, tries to make a run for it, but Mike, the security guard, is quicker. He blocks her path, his expression grim but determined. "You're not going anywhere," he says, his voice steady. Karen, cornered and desperate, lashes out, but it's too late. The game is up. Detective Harris, or rather, the man pretending to be Detective Harris, tries to slip away in the chaos, but Linda is one step ahead. She's already called the real police, and within minutes, the store is swarming with officers. The fake detective is arrested, his badge confiscated, his true identity revealed. Karen and Jess are taken in for questioning their roles in the scheme laid bare. And Emily? She's left standing in the middle of it all, her mind reeling from the whirlwind of revelations. The store, once a place of comfort and stability, now feels like a battlefield, the scars of the day's events etched into its walls. But even as the immediate threat is neutralized, questions remain. Who was behind the scheme? Who stood to gain from Linda's downfall? The documents Linda uncovered point to a rival business, but the trail doesn't end there. There are names of people in positions of power, people with the resources and influence to orchestrate something this elaborate. Linda knows this isn't over, that the fight to protect her store and her employees is far from finished. And Emily? She's left grappling with the fallout of Jess's betrayal, trying to reconcile the friend she thought she knew with the person who had been willing to sell her out. The emotional toll is immense, but there's also a flicker of something else, something stronger. Emily has been through hell, but she's still standing. And as she looks around the store, at the people who have stood by her, she realizes that she's not alone. Linda, Mike, even some of the customers who had witnessed the confrontation, they're all on her side. And together, they're ready to face whatever comes next. The story, it seems, is far from over. The mystery that began with a rude customer and a cashier has unraveled into something much bigger, much darker. But amidst the chaos and the heartbreak, there's a glimmer of hope, a sense that, no matter how deep the deception goes, the truth will always find a way to surface. And as the pieces of the puzzle continue to fall into place, one thing is clear: this is a story about more than just betrayal and revenge. It's a story about resilience, about the strength it takes to stand up for what's right, even when the odds are stacked against you. So, stay tuned, because the next chapter is going to change everything again. And trust me, you won't want to miss it.as. The dust begins to settle from the shocking revelations. Emily finds herself standing at a crossroads, the weight of impossible choices pressing down on her like a suffocating blanket. The betrayal by Jess, her best friend, has left her emotionally raw, but there's no time to process the hurt, not when the stakes are this high. Linda, ever the pillar of strength, pulls Emily aside and lays out the harsh reality of their situation. The rival business behind the scheme isn't just any competitor. It's a powerful conglomerate with deep pockets and even deeper connections. They've made it clear that if Linda doesn't sell her store to them at a fraction of its worth, they'll continue to target her employees, her reputation, and everything she's built. But Linda isn't willing to back down, and she needs Emily to make a choice: walk away now while she still can, or stand with Linda and fight, knowing full well the risks involved. For Emily, the decision isn't just about loyalty, it's about survival. If she stays, she could lose everything: her job, her safety, maybe even her freedom. But if she leaves, she'll be abandoning the one place that's ever felt like home, and the people who've stood by her when no one else would. The choice is agonizing, and no matter what she decides, there will be consequences. Complicating matters further is the reappearance of Jess, who reaches out to Emily in a desperate attempt to explain herself. Jess's voice is shaky, her words tumbling out in a frantic rush as she begs for forgiveness. She admits that she was wrong, that she let fear and desperation cloud her judgment, but she also reveals something even more troubling. The people behind the scheme have threatened her family. If Jess doesn't continue to cooperate, they'll make sure her sick parent loses access to the medical care they desperately need. Jess is trapped, just as Emily feels trapped, and she pleads with Emily to understand, to help her find a way out. But Emily is torn. How can she trust Jess again after everything that's happened? And yet, How can she turn her back on someone who's clearly as much a victim in this as she is? The emotional weight of the situation is crushing, and Emily feels the walls closing in around her. She wants to believe Jess, to find a way to help her, but she also knows that trusting the wrong person could cost her everything. The lines between friend and foe, between right and wrong, have never been blurrier. Meanwhile, Linda is working tirelessly to uncover the full extent of the conspiracy, but every lead she follows seems to hit a dead end. The documents she found in her office were just the tip of the iceberg, and the deeper she digs, the more she realizes how far-reaching this scheme truly is. It's not just about her store, it's about control, about sending a message to anyone who dares to challenge the conglomerate's dominance. Linda's determination is unwavering, but even she has her limits. She's been approached by a shadowy figure who offers her a way out. Hand over the store quietly, and they'll make sure she and her employees are taken care of. But Linda knows better than to trust empty promises. She's seen what happens to people who cross these people, and she's not about to let them win without a fight. Still, the pressure is mounting, and she can't do it alone. She needs Emily, but she also knows she can't ask her to risk everything. The ultimatum she gave Emily wasn't just about loyalty. It was about giving her a choice, something Linda herself hasn't had in a long time. As Emily wrestles with her decision, a new threat emerges, one that raises the stakes even higher. She receives an anonymous message on her phone, a single sentence that sends a chill down her spine. You don't know what you're up against. Attached to the message is a photo, a grainy surveillance image of Emily leaving the store late at night, completely unaware that she's being watched. The message is clear. They're watching her, and they're not afraid to play dirty. Emily's mind races as she tries to figure out who could have sent it. Is it someone from the rival business, trying to intimidate her into backing down? Or is it someone closer to home, someone she thought she could trust? The paranoia is overwhelming, and Emily feels like she's being pulled in a dozen different directions at once. She knows she needs to make a decision, but every option feels like a trap. And then, just when it seems like things can't get any more complicated, Emily's father enters the picture. He shows up at the store unannounced, his face pale and his hands trembling. He's sober for now, but the fear in his eyes is unmistakable. He tells Emily that he's been approached by strangers who offered him money in exchange for information about her. They wanted to know everything: her routines, her friends, her weaknesses. At first, he refused, but when they threatened to cut off his access to alcohol, he caved. He's ashamed, terrified, and begging for Emily's forgiveness. But Emily doesn't know how to feel. Her father's betrayal cuts deep, but she also knows he's a broken man, someone who's been manipulated just as much as Jess was. The emotional toll of the situation is almost too much to bear, and Emily feels like she's being pulled apart piece by piece. How can she protect herself when the people she loves are being used as weapons against her? How can she fight back when every move she makes seems to put someone else in danger? The tension in the story is palpable, the stakes higher than ever. Emily is facing impossible choices, each one more fraught with risk than the last. Should she stand with Linda and fight, knowing it could cost her everything? Should she try to help Jess, even if it means putting herself in danger? And what about her father? Can she forgive him? Or will his betrayal be the final straw? The answers aren't clear, and the path forward is shrouded in uncertainty. But one thing is certain: Emily is no longer the same person she was at the beginning of this story. She's been tested, pushed to her limits, and forced to confront truths about herself and the people around her that she never wanted to face. And as the story hurtles toward its climax, The only thing that's certain is that nothing will ever be the same again. So, stay tuned, because the next chapter is going to change everything again. And trust me, you won't want to miss it.as Emily grapples with the impossible choices laid out before her. The true scale of the conspiracy begins to unravel, revealing a web of deceit far more extensive and sinister than anyone could have imagined. What started as a targeted attack on Linda's store now appears to be part of a much larger operation, one that stretches beyond the small town and into the highest echelons of power. The rival conglomerate, it turns out, is just a front for something far more dangerous, a network of corrupt officials, shady business deals, and illegal operations that have been operating under the radar for years. Linda's store, with its loyal customer base and strong community ties, was seen as a threat to their control, a symbol of independence that needed to be crushed. But the conspiracy doesn't stop there. As Linda and Emily dig deeper, they uncover evidence that suggests the store was just one piece of a much larger puzzle, one that involves not just businesses, but people Emily thought she could trust. The first major blow comes when Mike, the security guard who had always seemed so dependable, is revealed to have been working against them all along. It's a gut-wrenching betrayal, one that shakes Emily to her core. Mike, it turns out, had been feeding information to the conglomerate for months, providing them with insider details about the store's operations, its employees, and its vulnerabilities. His limp, the injury that had forced him to retire from the police force, was a cover, a way to gain sympathy and trust while he carried out his true mission. When confronted, Mike doesn't even try to deny it. His face is cold, his voice devoid of remorse as he explains that he was offered a payout large enough to secure his future, something he couldn't pass up. "It's nothing personal," he says, his words cutting through Emily like a knife. But to her, it feels deeply personal. Mike wasn't just a coworker. He was someone she had trusted, someone she had looked up to. His betrayal is a stark reminder that in this world, no one is who they seem, and trust is a luxury she can no longer afford. But the revelations don't stop there. As Linda and Emily sift through the evidence Mike had been collecting, they stumble upon a name that sends shockwaves through both of them: Linda's husband, Robert. The man who had been pressuring Linda to sell the store, the man who had claimed to want nothing more than her happiness, had been working with the conglomerate all along. The emails, the financial transactions, the damning photos, it's all there, laid out in black and white. Robert had been the one to orchestrate the initial approach, using his connections to bring the conglomerate into the picture. His motives are unclear, but one thing is certain: he had been playing a long game, manipulating Linda from the inside, all while pretending to be her partner. The betrayal is devastating, and for a moment, Linda looks like she's been punched in the gut. Her hands tremble as she stares at the evidence, her mind struggling to reconcile the man she thought she knew with the monster staring back at her from the pages. Emily, standing beside her, feels a surge of anger and helplessness. How could someone who claimed to love Linda do something so vile? And how could they have been so blind to his true intentions? The emotional weight of the situation is almost too much to bear, but there's no time to process the hurt, not when the danger is closing in. The conglomerate, realizing that their plans are unraveling, has escalated their efforts to silence Linda and Emily. The anonymous threats become more frequent, more menacing. Emily's apartment is broken into, her belongings ransacked, and a chilling message is left scrawled on her mirror: "Stop digging, or else." The fear is paralyzing, but it's also galvanizing. Emily knows that if she backs down now, they win. And she's not about to let that happen. Linda, too, is determined to fight, her grief and anger fueling her resolve. Together, they begin to piece together the full extent of the conspiracy, uncovering a network of corruption that reaches far beyond their small town. It's a dangerous game, one that puts them directly in the crosshairs of some very powerful people, but they have no choice. The truth is the only weapon they have, and they're determined to wield it, no matter the cost. As the stakes grow higher, the pressure becomes almost unbearable. Emily is forced to confront the reality that her life and the lives of everyone she cares about are in danger. Jess, still reeling from her own role in the scheme, reaches out again, this time with a warning. They're coming for you, Emily. You need to run. But running isn't an option, not anymore. Emily knows that if she doesn't stand up to these people now, they'll never stop. And so, with Linda by her side, she begins to fight back, using every resource at her disposal to expose the truth. They reach out to journalists, to law enforcement, to anyone who will listen, but the response is lukewarm at best. The conglomerate's influence is far-reaching, and it's clear that they've already begun to cover their tracks. But Emily and Linda refuse to give up. They know that the truth is out there, and they're determined to find it, no matter how deep they have to dig. The tension reaches a fever pitch as the story hurtles toward its climax. The danger is everywhere, the threats more explicit, the risks more dire. Emily and Linda are walking a tightrope, balancing on the edge of disaster with every move they make. And then, just when it seems like they're out of options, a new piece of evidence emerges, one that changes everything. It's a recording, hidden in the depths of Mike's files, that captures a conversation between Robert and the head of the conglomerate. The words are damning, a smoking gun that could bring the entire operation crashing down. But getting it into the right hands won't be easy. The conglomerate is watching their every move, and one wrong step could be their last. The pressure is immense, the stakes higher than ever, and the emotional toll is almost too much to bear. But Emily and Linda know that this is their only chance. They have to see it through, no matter what. As the story races toward its conclusion, the sense of urgency is palpable. The danger is real, the risks are life-threatening, and the emotional weight of the situation is almost overwhelming. But amidst the chaos and the fear, there's a glimmer of hope, a sense that, no matter how dark things get, the truth will always find a way to surface. Emily and Linda are fighting not just for themselves, but for everyone who's ever been pushed down by people who think they're untouchable. And as they prepare to make their final move, one thing is clear. This is a story about more than just survival. It's about standing up for what's right, even when the odds are stacked against you. So, stay tuned, because the next chapter is going to change everything again. And trust me, you won't want to miss it. The climax of the story unfolds in a whirlwind of tension, danger, and raw emotion as Emily and Linda finally confront the forces that have been manipulating their lives. The recording they uncovered, the one that could bring down the entire conspiracy, is their only hope, but getting it into the right hands is a perilous task. The conglomerate has eyes everywhere, and every move they make feels like walking into a trap. The plan is simple, but risky. They'll leak the recording to a trusted journalist who has been investigating the conglomerate for years. But to do that, they'll need to meet her in person, away from prying eyes and hidden cameras. The meeting is set for an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town, a place so remote it feels like the edge of the world. As they drive there, the tension in the car is palpable. Emily's hands grip the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turn white, while Linda sits beside her, staring out the window with a look of grim determination. Neither of them speaks, but the unspoken fear hangs heavy in the air. What if this is a setup? What if they're walking straight into a trap? When they arrive at the warehouse, the scene is eerily quiet. The only sound the crunch of gravel beneath their feet as they approach the entrance. The journalist, a woman named Claire, is waiting for them inside, her face a mask of professionalism, but her eyes betraying a flicker of fear. She knows the risks of what they're about to do, but she also knows the importance of the story. As Emily hands over the recording, Claire's expression softens for a moment. "You're doing the right thing," she says, her voice steady but filled with empathy. But before Emily can respond, the sound of footsteps echoes through the warehouse, and the door slams shut behind them. The lights flicker on, revealing a group of men in dark suits, their faces cold and unreadable. At the front of the group is Robert, Linda's husband, his expression a mix of anger and something else, something that looks almost like regret. The betrayal is a knife to the heart, but Linda doesn't flinch. She steps forward, her voice steady but laced with venom. "You think you can scare us into silence?" she says, her eyes locked on Robert's. "You think you can take everything from us and walk away? You're wrong." What follows is a battle of wills, a psychological showdown that leaves everyone in the room on edge. Robert tries to reason with Linda, his voice pleading as he explains that he never wanted things to go this far, that he was forced into it by people more powerful than he could ever hope to be. But Linda isn't buying it. She knows the truth now, and she's not about to let him off the hook. Emily, standing beside her, feels a surge of anger and determination. This is it, the moment they've been fighting for. But just as it seems like they might have the upper hand, one of the men steps forward, holding a gun. The room falls silent, the tension so thick it feels like it could suffocate them all. Emily's heart pounds in her chest as she realizes the danger they're in. This isn't just about exposing the truth anymore, it's about survival. And then, in a moment that no one sees coming, Jess bursts into the warehouse, her face flushed and her breathing ragged. She's holding a phone, and on the screen is a live video feed of the warehouse, being broadcast to thousands of viewers online. "It's over," she says, her voice trembling but filled with resolve. The world is watching. The men in suits exchange panicked glances, their confidence crumbling as they realize they've been outmaneuvered. Robert looks at Linda, his face a mask of desperation, but she doesn't waver. "You made your choice," she says, her voice cold and final. "Now live with it." The twist is as shocking as it is satisfying. Jess, who had been manipulated and coerced into betraying Emily, had been working behind the scenes to expose the conspiracy in her own way. The live stream, which she had set up with the help of a tech-savvy friend, was her way of making sure the truth couldn't be buried. The conglomerate's plans are unraveling in real time, their carefully constructed web of lies collapsing under the weight of the evidence. But the danger isn't over yet. As the men in suits scramble to contain the damage, one of them makes a desperate move, lunging toward Emily with the gun. The room erupts into chaos, the sound of shouting and scuffling filling the air. Emily's instincts kick in, and she fights back with everything she has, her fear and anger fueling her strength. Linda and Jess join the fray, their determination unwavering as they stand together against the forces that have tried to destroy them. In the end, it's not brute strength that wins the day, but the power of the truth. The live stream captures everything: the confrontation, the betrayal, the fight, and within hours, the story is everywhere. The conglomerate's empire begins to crumble as the public outcry grows, and the people behind the conspiracy are forced to face the consequences of their actions. Robert is arrested, his face plastered across the news as the mastermind behind the scheme. The men in suits are rounded up, their power and influence stripped away in an instant. And Emily, Linda, and Jess are left standing in the wreckage, battered but unbroken. The emotional weight of the moment is overwhelming, a mix of relief, exhaustion, and triumph. They've won, but the cost has been high. As the dust settles, Emily looks at Jess, her best friend, the person who had betrayed her, but also the person who had risked everything to make things right. There's a long road ahead, a journey of healing and rebuilding trust, but in that moment, Emily knows they'll get through it. Together. Linda, standing beside them, places a hand on Emily's shoulder, her expression a mix of pride and gratitude. "You did it," she says, her voice soft but filled with emotion. "We did it." And as they walk out of the warehouse, into the light of a new day, Emily feels a sense of hope she hasn't felt in a long time. The fight isn't over, not by a long shot, but for the first time, she believes that they can win. And that's enough. But just when it seems like the story is over, there's one final twist. As Emily, Linda, and Jess drive away from the warehouse, Emily's phone buzzes with a notification. It's a message from an unknown number, just 2 words, "Nice job." Emily's heart skips a beat as she realizes that whoever sent it knows more than they're letting on. The conspiracy, it seems, runs deeper than they ever imagined. The fight isn't over, it's only just begun. And as the screen fades to black, the audience is left on the edge of their seats, eager for the next chapter in this gripping, unpredictable story. The resolution of the story is a bittersweet symphony of closure and lingering mystery, a culmination of all the pain, struggle, and triumph that Emily, Linda, and Jess have endured. In the weeks following the explosive confrontation at the warehouse, life begins to settle into a new rhythm, though the scars of the past remain etched deeply into their lives. The conglomerate's empire has crumbled under the weight of the public outcry, its leaders arrested and its operations dismantled. Robert, Linda's husband, faces a litany of charges, his betrayal now a matter of public record. Linda, though heartbroken by his actions, finds a strange sense of liberation in the aftermath. She rebuilds her store, not just as a business, but as a symbol of resilience, a testament to the power of standing up for what's right. The community rallies around her, their support a balm for the wounds she's endured. And yet, there's a quiet sadness in her eyes, a reminder that some betrayals cut too deep to ever fully heal. Emily, too, begins to find her footing in this new reality. The trauma of the past months has left its mark, but it's also forged her into someone stronger, more determined. She decides to stay on at the store, not just as an employee, but as a partner, working alongside Linda to create something truly special. The bond between them has deepened, their shared experiences creating a connection that feels almost familial. But it's her relationship with Jess that undergoes the most profound transformation. The betrayal had been a knife to the heart, but Jess's actions in the warehouse, her decision to risk everything to expose the truth, had been a turning point. Their friendship is fragile, a delicate thing that requires time and effort to rebuild, but there's a sense of hope that wasn't there before. They've both been through hell, but they've come out the other side, and that's something worth holding on to. Jess, for her part, is grappling with her own demons. The guilt of her actions weighs heavily on her, but she's determined to make amends. She throws herself into helping Emily and Linda, using her tech skills to modernize the store and reach a wider audience. It's her way of saying sorry, of proving that she's more than the mistake she's made. And slowly, tentatively, she begins to forgive herself. The road ahead is long, but she's ready to walk it, one step at a time. The 3 women, bound together by their shared experiences, form a kind of makeshift family, their bond a source of strength as they navigate the challenges of rebuilding their lives. But even as they find moments of peace, the mystery of the unknown number lingers, a shadow that refuses to dissipate. The message "nice job" had been a reminder that the conspiracy, though dismantled, had roots that ran deeper than anyone had realized. Emily had tried to trace the number, but it led to a dead end, a ghost in the machine that left her.